All-Star Western number 14, written by Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti, art by Moritat. This is, you guessed it, Black Diamond Probability, because last issue we left off with the gang being attacked by a bunch of crazies at Haley Circus, and the reveal that Mr. Hyde is totally a real thing and wants his Black Diamond back. And we open up in this issue with Mr. Hyde talking to Reginald, the guy that Dr. Jekyll hired to come to America, and basically saying, now, here's what I want, Reggie. I would like my Black Diamond, and I'd like some raw meat, in that order. And we get some narration boxes breaking down that the original story, the first draft, if you will, of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde showed that the formula had made its way to America. And then all of this stuff in this book happened. So take that however you will. And at this point, he's just talking to Reggie saying, like, okay, look, Jekyll only eats veggies. I need some meat in me. Just get me some meat. It doesn't have to be human, but I'd prefer it to be if you could. And Reggie's like, I'm not doing anything without Jekyll saying I should. And he's like, Reggie, why have you stuck around with me for this long? Do you have some hidden desire for Dr. Jekyll, or are you really just that attracted to my raw magnetism? And Reggie's like, let Dr. Jekyll take over, and then I'll talk. And he's like, all right, fine, whatever. Dr. Jekyll can come back. So Hyde transforms back into Jekyll, and Jekyll's like, oh, please tell me I didn't kill anybody. He's like, no, you ate someone's finger, though. And he's like, all right, well, that's not so bad. Anyway, what's going on? And it's like, all right, well, we figured out where the formula probably is, so we're just hunting down that right now. And Jekyll's like, I will help them in their search. And Reginald's like, maybe you shouldn't be in any sort of stressful situations, Doc. And Jekyll's like, I'm always angry. Not actually, but, you know. So they go and they talk, the gang talks to the basically snake oil salesman down at the circus. And they're like, okay, question, did you get something from Scotland recently? And he's like, yes, my nephew brought back something. It's like, cool. How many people did you sell that to? And he's like, well, we sold an entire case. We were going to make some more. I gave some as free samples to the workers here at the circus, but yeah, no, are you telling me that's what caused all this? And like, yeah, that's exactly what we're saying. And we see the nephew is running away from the circus. He's trying to hide from them. And the guy is just like, yeah, no, hey, here's the formula back. We won't make another batch, I promise it. But Jesus, like, do you think it's all under control? And it's like, well, do you know who you sold it to? And he's like, well, I think the biggest batch was going to some gang down in Chinatown called the Golden Dragons. And they're like, all right, well, I guess we're going to Chinatown. So if you also remember last issue, Barbary Ghost, who was originally a backup story, is here in the main story. And she's down in Chinatown fighting the Golden Dragons, looking for her mother, who has been taken captive of some way. And they're just like, well, all right, let's start fighting. And Barbary Ghost is going through fighting, asking for where her mother is. And the gang basically says, like, you know what? Fine. We already sold her. We sold her to some rich white guy who lives down south. She's already on the train, but don't worry, we're going to kill you beforehand. And they proceed to, like, knock her on her ass, take a few cheap shots, and really beat her up quite a bit. And as they're about to deliver the finishing blow, Hex and Tallulah show up, hold guns to the guy's head, and then Barbary Ghost just kicks him in the face, knocking out a few teeth, and it's just like, well, thank you. That's the second time you've helped me tonight. And be like, oh, we're not done yet. Because it turns out that pretty much this entire town has gotten, like all of Chinatown has gotten their hands on this formula, and they're all a little bit crazy. So they all start attacking the trio. Trio fights back. They give a brief explanation as to what happened to make all these people crazy. Quote, a fella from Scotland came up with a drink that makes people crazy. That's really all they give into it. So they end up taking out the whole mob with just some swords and stuff. And the Barbary Ghost, who does give her full name at one point here, but I genuinely, Yan Mei Sen, she's like, hey, you guys said you're bounty hunter. You find people? And they're like, usually like bad people. Also, we're kind of in the middle of something right now. And she's like, well, I've been searching for my mother. I have no idea how to find her. Can you help me? And they say, well, how much money you got? And it's like a couple hundred. And it's like, that's not enough. So we're already on a job. Sorry. But Tallulah's like, you know what? I kind of hate Gotham. I'm going to go and help her out. And Hex is like, you already took a job. What about the money? He's like, you can keep it. Like, whatever. I'll see you around. Hex gives him a kiss and then grabs onto Yanmei and makes her way out of town. And we cut to Hex recounting the story back to Dr. Arkham. And he's giving Arkham a hard time for wearing a nightgown rather than a, normal pants. And they're just like, all right, well, we got the formula back, and it seems like everyone who drank it is either dead or in jail. So I think we can consider that a successful mission. And Arkham's like, yeah, I'll take it back to him in the morning. You get some rest. So he goes back to the place where Jekyll's staying, and it's like, he's asking for Reggie more specifically. He's like, Reggie, I have the formula. And as he walks in, we see that it is Mr. Hyde instead, but Arkham doesn't know Mr. Hyde, so it's like, oh, hello, Doctor. Who are you looking for? It's like, oh, we're looking for Reggie and or Dr. Jekyll, either of them available. It's like, oh, I believe that Reggie is currently indisposed at the moment. And it's like, okay, well, I can talk to him later. It's like, no. You just leave it with me. I can take care of it. And he's like, no, I'd much rather give it to Reggie, considering I don't know who you are. And he's like, oh, I'm a very close friend of Dr. Jekyll's. He's like, right. And he's like, you said Reggie's in that room? I'll just go wake him up real quick. And this is like, all right, but you might have trouble waking him up. And we see that as he enters into the bathroom or the room where Reggie is, it's a bathroom. And Reggie is disemboweled and dead in a blood-filled bathtub. And as he's freaking out, we see Hyde come up behind being like, you know that formula? You know why it didn't work? Well, it didn't work because they didn't have a secret ingredient, something that I added myself. A little black diamond. Crazy how that makes things change. Hey, we got a black diamond. Woo, we did it. Black diamond probability has been solved. Congratulations, everybody. I think it was good. I think it was a solid issue. It's weird. Like, the Barbary Ghost thing feels like it was supposed to spin off either into a new backup story or into just a new comic entirely. To the best of my knowledge, it did neither, as the backup story to this is still Tomahawk. So, yeah, I don't know. It's, that part felt a bit out of place, save for getting Tallulah out of the book, because they couldn't think of a better way, I guess. Despite the fact that I think before this arc started, Tallulah was like, I kind of want to leave. And then she stuck around for, no reason. So, I think it's a solid issue, but I do think it does have a few flaws with it. So I'm going to go ahead and say this is a 6. It's fine. It's a fine issue, but it does have, the fact that it's just kind of all, I don't want to say wrapped up, but the fact that, this stuff got sold in an entire case worth, and then it's like, it's probably everybody's dealt with, whatever. I understand they just kind of want to get to the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing, but it just felt a little bit lackluster to me. So 6 for this. We'll see how it continues next time.